Second, I have issues. I'm challenged. More than one.
How we doing, guys?
Good. Talk about Minnesota and just the balance they have offensively and the problems that presents.
Yeah, they're really good. They're good on the offensive line. The runners outstanding. They do a great job, with their scheme up there. The complements off their run game, their play action stuff, their movement stuff is outstanding. The quarterback's playing really well. Got weapons at tight end, weapons at receiver, know how to use them, and it all fits together really well. So they're a damn good offense.
Why do you think your running game has really started to click these last couple of games?
We value the running game. We work very hard at the running game. We want to be a balanced team. It starts with the guys up front, how they control the line of scrimmage. Obviously, we have an elite runner in Zeke Elliott. Tony Pollard has really added to it as well. I think our tight ends are blocking well. I think Coach Colombo's doing a great job. Kellen's doing a great job dialing it up. The running game is a work in progress. We've talked about that before, that oftentimes you get your best opportunity to practice and improve in the running game by running in the games, because it's hard to simulate the running game in practice, particularly in this day and age when you don't have a lot of padded practices. So hopefully your whole team is improving from week to week, and certainly in this aspect of your team, you want to get better and better as the season goes on.
Has any of that been, or was it exacerbated by Zeke not being around for training camp and kind of getting back to speed at all, do you think?
Zeke's a really good player, and Zeke has played well from the outset of his career. He's played well from the outset of the season. Sometimes people like to say this is a trend or that's a trend. He's a guy that we give a lot of responsibility to, and he typically responds and plays very well, handles it at a high level. He's certainly done that for us.
How are you approaching the work day today with the change in schedule?
Players came in later today. 11:30 is when the day starts, and we'll have meetings. Quickly clean up the game from the other night, and then get our eyes forward on Minnesota. And we'll have walkthrough like we typically do. And then instead of having a full padded practice like we typically would on a Wednesday, we're going to have something similar to what we do team on the grass out in training camp. We'll go out there, we'll have jerseys on, and the temp will be more of a jog through. Get all the content of a Wednesday without the physical contact.
You mentioned the line and the run game earlier. When you became the head coach, that was one of your big priorities, was kind of overhauling the line. Would you say that was more from your experience of being around these teams in the 90s, or just more kind of your football philosophy overall?
Yeah, I just don't think you can win in football on a consistent basis if you're not good on the offense and defensive lines. And, I think history tells you that. I had some personal experience with that. In the 90s, we were really good on the offensive line, and we were a really good running team, and that allowed us to be a really good offense, and it helped our defense. And I think it's the same way on the defensive side of the ball. It starts up front. That's what this game is. That's what this game has always been. You'll never see your skill live up to its potential if you're not good on the offense and defensive lines. So that's just something I've always believed in. We had a really good offensive line for a while here at the outset, but a lot of those guys got older. And talking about, Andre Girard and Mark Colombo and Flozell Adams and Leonard Davis, those guys are really good football players for a long time around here. And, so we had to make a decision then. We released 3 of them in 1 year, and we had to overhaul it, and it took us time to build it back up, and we knew that we were going to take some lumps during that process, but it was important to us to do it the right way, and I think we have.
Is it fair to say that there's no guarantee of a return on that investment? Maybe that speaks to the kind of guys that Tyron Smith, Travis Frederick, Zach Martin are. I mean, you invested, but you got it right.
Yeah, I think that's the nature of personnel in this league. You can make a decision, you want to be this kind of a team, but if you don't pick the right guys, that plan's not going to work out very well. And I think we've chosen the right guys, starting with Tyron Smith. I mean, Tyron's a cornerstone player for us at a very important position. He's been a great player, an elite player, and he plays the game the right way. He's physically tough, he's mentally tough, he's a professional, he's a great example to the rest of his teammates. And then we did that later with Travis and with Zach and L.C. Collins and Connor Williams, those other guys. They all fit into that same mold, and that's such an important part. What do you want your team to look like? Who are the kind of guys who can, live out that vision that you have? And again, I think we've done a good job communicating in this organization how we want to select players, and those guys have been cornerstone players for us, made a big difference.
Your pass protection has been dramatically improved over what it was last year. How what role does that play in what you're able to do offensively this year, being number one offense? And again, where have you improved in that area when you look at why the improvements are?
Oh, I think it all fits together. We're talking about running the football. When you run the football, typically your pass protection gets better. If you're always in passing situations and you have to protect, typically you're not going to be quite as good. So you want to control the line of scrimmage first. I do think that the individual guys have protected very well. I do think they've protected well together. There's a veteran group that played a lot of football together, and they've done a really good job. Coach Colombo has helped them immensely, individually and collectively as a group. I think our quarterback has done a really good job with his decision-making, getting the ball out of his hands. I think our tight ends, our receivers, and our backs have done a good job getting open, giving him a place to go with the football. I think Kellen's done a really good job dialing stuff up to get the ball out of his hands. So, when you're mixing things up, when you're running it and you're throwing it and you're kind of playing downhill, I think that all has a positive impact on your pass protection.
The Vikings use a lot of outside zone runs with Cook. What challenges does that present to the defense?
Well, they're really good at it. Coach Kubiak has done a fantastic job throughout his career, with this scheme, and it's something they believe in. They coach it really well. Offensive linemen are outstanding at it, and the runner is really, really good. And so your gap discipline, setting edges, winning in your gap, being physical, all the things you preach every week are critical, and then certainly tackling the running back. So all those things will be in a premium and in the forefront of our minds this week.
Do you know who you are at this point in the season as far as a team? Do you think that the truth that you can count on, this is who we are, this is what we do well?
Yeah, we're a work in progress, just like everybody. Every player, every coach, every unit, and our whole team is a work in progress. And, something that we really try to emphasize to everybody is come in here every day and get better every day and get better every week. And that's something that we think about a lot, and that's something we try to emphasize to our team. So hopefully we're getting better and better and better and establishing our identity as we go.
What's the latest update on Leighton Vander Esch's health? And when you have a guy like Sean come in and play as well as he did, how do you balance the snaps going forward?
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully Leighton will do better as the week goes on. We're not going to do a whole lot of football where we're hitting each other today in practice. But he improved last week, and hopefully that continues as the week goes on. And depending on what his availability is, we just got to find a way to get them both out there, and we'll have discussions about that as the week goes on, how to best use each of those guys because they're really good football players.
Is there a certain benchmark with his neck that you're looking for to hit?
Not necessarily. We'll talk to the medical people. We'll get his feedback, and then we'll watch as coaches to see how he's doing. And you put all that stuff together and you make your best judgments.
In terms of avoiding sacks, Dak's footwork in the pocket has seemed to be pretty positive so far, where he's evaded things by just making some slight movements. Is that an area of his game that you've seen improve, and was that a point of emphasis at all this offseason?
Well, it's always a point of emphasis for your quarterbacks. Playing quarterback at a high level starts with your feet. You got to get yourself in a position to throw, whether you're coming from under center, from the gun, and Dak has worked very hard at that, right from his rookie year, and I think it has improved. I do think your understanding of the game, the more you play quarterback, helps your footwork, it helps your decision making, it helps your decisiveness to get the ball out of your hand. That continues to get better and better for him. The challenging part with a quarterback like Dak is he makes so many plays with his feet, so sometimes he extends plays that other quarterbacks can't extend. And then sometimes in doing that, you might take a sack. But you can't say, oh, don't do that. Well, how about that 42-yarder I just threw? Or how about that one over there, the 78-yarder, right? So some of that stuff comes with it. And we as coaches have to understand that. You're not going to be perfect. You're not always going to make the plays and make no negative plays. That's part of it. But I think he just continues to handle those situations better and better and better. Guys are doing a really good job on the other end, giving him places to throw the ball, and he's ripping it in there.
How have you seen Xavier Woods grow since you guys have had him here?
Again, like with a lot of guys, the more guys play, the more decisive they become. I mean, Xavier's a smart guy, he's an instinctive guy. We saw that coming out of school. But the more he plays games and sees the different situations, he starts to pounce on situations more and more. And I think he's proven to be a very physical safety. He's a smart guy. He's around the ball a lot, both in the running game and in the passing game. He's a good tackler. So I think in all those areas, the things you're asking a safety to do, he improves with the experience he gets. He certainly goes about it the right way. He's a real pro.
We talked to Mike Zimmer today on a conference call. What do you remember about the conversations you guys had when you were the quarterback hearing things and just discussing offense and defense and philosophies and stuff?
Yeah, Zim and I used to talk all the time. I mean, he came in here and had such a positive impact on our team. And I think everybody who was around him knew right away he's a hell of a coach. I think he helped those guys individually. He helped the whole back end and had a really positive impact on our defense and our team. And for me as a player, he was always so generous. I was always so curious about, why they're doing things. And, we would spend a lot of time. I'd ask him questions about coverage philosophies and what works well against it. And, does this bother you? If we did this, would that be something that gave you guys some problems? And he was always so generous and gracious with me, really educating me as we went. So really value his relationship.
Jordan Lewis was moving pretty quickly on that fumble return for a touchdown, but Chidobe Awuzie had caught him and kind of just celebrating with him at the end. What goes through your mind when you see that and the camaraderie those guys have on the
Oh, it was great to see it. One of the things we talk to our players about all the time is think about when you first got your shoulder pads, when you're 8 years old. First helmet you got, first pair of shoulder pads, the first practice you went to, the spirit that you had, the excitement that you had. And even though you're pro football players, have been doing this for a long time, you never want to lose that. That sense of, playing football because you love it. And those two guys, they absolutely love it. They love to practice. They love to play. And to see those guys make a play like that, at the end of a ball game and the spirit that they're playing with, it's fantastic.
How have you seen their relationship grow since you drafted them?
Oh, it just seems like they've always gotten along really well. They kind of came in together, and they're those two DBs that we drafted in the second and third round, and I think they're competitive in a really healthy way, with each other, and I think they're really good friends and seem to get along well and work well together.
Well, you'd like to obviously get into a great start every game. What have you seen just in terms of how your group responds to, very first play, interception when the ball gets undercut, get the very next play, Dak goes the same receiver on the very same route, essentially with the slant, and kind of just keep going and forget the last play.
Yeah, that's such an important part of playing this game at a high level. The best players I've been around, the best teams I've been around are able to do that. They play this play. They let the last one go. Touchdown, interception, fumble, sack, whatever it is, you just keep playing this play. You keep moving forward and understanding it's play after play after play for 60 minutes. And you play with a clean mind and a clean spirit, and you keep going. And I think it goes to the mental toughness that individual guys have and the mental toughness we're trying to instill in our team. And again, there's going to be a lot of highs and lows over the course of a game. The guy on the other side's a good football player, or else he wouldn't be here. So you have to understand that. You're not going to win them all. You just got to keep playing, and hopefully over time you execute well enough to be on top at the end of it.
That second slant that you threw to Gallup in that sequence, was that the run that he checked out of? Assuming there was some communication before the snap, or that protection?
Yeah, I don't want to get into too much of the details of it, but the communication was good, and he made a really good decision on that play and a good throw.
What stands out about the times y'all have faced Kirk Cousins through his career?
Just a really good player. He's a really good passer from the pocket. You can see him make throws at all three levels of the defense. And he's a very competitive guy. He plays with a great spirit, and he's just done a really good job in every game we played against him. And he's certainly one of those guys, like every quarterback, you need to affect. Somehow, some way, you got to, get around him and make him uncomfortable, because he can really get going. He's a big-time passer, and he's shown that throughout his career.
Thank you.
All right, good to see you guys.
Thanks, Jason.